entertainmentbuddha.com.
Dun da 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 dun da 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 wah 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 da 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 wah 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 da 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 wah 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 wah. Hey now everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Star Wars Time. This is your host, Matt, with Nick, and we have a special guest tonight, and that's Pete the Cat. And why is he special? Well, it's because he's sitting right the fuck next to me as I'm trying to record this podcast. But he's so old and ornery that if I try to move him, he's probably just gonna either delete my mic stem or make noises into the mic,
claw your
or
eyes
do something
out.
Stupid. Yeah, exactly. Or as Nick said, potentially slash my wrists open and kill me.
Yeah. You never know with old cats. They only got a little bit of time left, and they're gonna go out fighting.
I mean, dude, he's literally, it's borderline fronting, but definitely posing at me right now. Like it's that popped up cat head look, where he won't look in the eyes, but it's like, I'm not looking in your eyes because I fucking hate you.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to give you the respect of looking in your
exactly.
eyes.
It's like, I don't even respect you enough to look at you.
Yeah. I've seen that look before from my cat. They've gotten that.
And his ears are all spiked up. I mean, he's literally, I am scared he's going to bite my cheek off, or at least go for my fucking jugular.
Dude.
This could be it.
If you guys hear Matt scream at some point on this podcast,
you know what it is. I'm at least trying to set up my own death.
Yeah, I know. So this might be the last episode if Matt bites the
by
dust.
old cat. Old cat murder. All right, so I don't know whatever the hell that was, but we're here to we do have some Star Wars stuff to talk about, my friends, because hopefully that's why you're tuning in. But if you have been tuning in, you know that's just how Nick and I roll. We go down these things we like to call rabbit holes. They can involve cats. They can involve the prequels. They can involve delusional Star Wars fans. Hell, they can involve other sci-fi or fantasy or geek properties in general.
Yeah.
That's just what we do on Star Wars Time, right, my friend?
It's a little bit of mix. It's a little mix of everything here.
We're the potpourri podcast.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. All right.
So, all right, dude. I mean, we do have a few things to talk about. I think about 3 if you like to keep score. And it kind of expands across all of Star Wars, right? I mean, we got stuff in the movie universe, we've got rumors, and we've got some more video game news, which I'm always excited to talk about Star Wars video game news just because we've been so devoid of Star Wars video games since EA has taken over the license and, of course, Lucas sold it to Disney.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to start with the video game stuff, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, we got some pretty good news, pretty interesting news here, and it's mostly based around Amy Hennig and her now
Who is a legend, by the way.
Oh yeah, I mean, like
why don't you fill in people that may not know who Amy is?
So Amy Hennig's been a force in the industry for a long time, but really kind of, people newer into video gaming would know her for the Uncharted series. She's essentially the person.
Just the Uncharted series. Like, I like how Nick just glazes over it. Like, Uncharted isn't one of the biggest gaming franchises ever. I mean, that's Sony's Master Chief, right?
Oh yeah, dude. Nathan Drake is Sony's cash cow, and if we look at what has spawned from it, I mean, if you look at Naughty Dog Studios pre Uncharted, I mean, you had a lot of, I don't want to say kiddie games, but it was more like cartoon style and
Crash Bandicoot,
and I think Spyro was also Naughty Dog.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
You're looking at a completely different type of genre, and then Amy Hennig comes in here and has this fantastic idea for not really open world, but a action adventure game that essentially has you playing Indiana Jones. Like, if we want to link this,
the Drake games are fantastic.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Uncharted franchise is fantastic.
Yeah, so
he's a great character. I mean, it's one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, so she was helming the Uncharted
Well,
series.
was she still there for The Last of Us 2 though?
No, so she was there
she
through 3, Uncharted 3, because she
Okay.
didn't do 4 because that was Druckmann and Straley, and then Straley and Druckmann were also the ones who came out with The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2. So Hennig was there. Amy Hennig was there all the way through not A Thief's End, but Uncharted 3. I can't remember the subtitle for it. And then she did move to EA with the intention of building a Star Wars game. So right when the acquisition happened, when EA got the rights, exclusive rights, to build Star Wars games, Amy Hennig came on immediately. She was one of the first hires to build a Star Wars game for EA. Now, we know how long it's been since that acquisition happened. I mean, we're coming up on 4 years here, or maybe
Yeah,
even
it
more.
feels like a decade at this point.
And, there was very little news outside of, her just being there and working on a Star Wars game. We eventually found out that she was working with Visceral to build it. So Visceral was a studio that brought you Dead Space. They brought you, I mean, if you even want to look at Battlefield, they made Battlefield Hardline. So, they were a very experienced studio.
I mean, Dead Space, come on, people.
I mean,
That's one of the greatest. One of the greatest, it's
Horror.
sad to even say at this point, last-gen sci-fi horror games.
Yeah.
I mean, horror games in general. Dead Space 1 is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, so, when that was first announced that she was moving to Visceral to work on a Star Wars game with them, a lot of the rumors started swirling up. What could this game be? If you've played Dead Space, you know it's more of a linear kind of story progression type of game. But a lot of people started thinking of this Death Troopers book that was a pre-EU. This was also, we have to keep in mind that this was announced before they even killed the EU completely. This was right as soon as the acquisition happened. So a lot of people thought it was going to be like a zombie Stormtroopers game where you're going to be stuck on a derelict Star Destroyer out in space. Zombie Stormtroopers are everywhere. So that was kind of the thought around it. We never actually got any kind of information other than it was going to be a linear style story progression game, single player. But there was no details given from what I can remember on what the storyline was, who the main characters were, or anything like that. So now we're here in 2018, and it's come out that Amy Hennig is no longer working on a Star Wars video game. Visceral Studios actually shuttered about 6 months ago, so that was kind of done. And whenever EA was asked, well, what's Amy doing? They didn't exactly say that she was no longer there. They always said that she was still in negotiations. Maybe she was going to move to a different studio to continue her work.
I love it.
It was bullshit. But essentially today, it's finally 100% confirmed. Amy Hennig is no longer at EA. She's going to be opening up her own studio to work on, her vision, her games that she wants to make. And the assets and kind of the general feel of the game that she was working on has pivoted to EA Vancouver, and they're going to take it in a different direction. So, still using the same assets that were built, from Amy's team, and moving it more into an open world type of space, a sandbox type of feel to the game. Still no information on main characters, still no information on time setting or anything like that. But we do know that EA Vancouver has now taken over ownership of originally Amy Hennig and Visceral's game. They're going to be using some of the assets that were built for that game as well.
We
3
know
terabytes
at least,
worth.
Yeah. 3 terabytes, so I mean that's a lot of fucking art. So it feels like they're gonna borrow liberally from what her team was working on.
Oh yeah, I mean, I assume that this pivot, quote unquote, is happening because they've already done so much work. It would have been negligent to just waste it. Like you said, 3 terabytes of stuff is just, I mean, you don't want to just throw that away. So they're trying to salvage what they can here, shift it to another studio and be like, hey, take this shit and make something with it. And EA Vancouver, for people who are wondering, okay, what have they done? What's on their resume? They have developers there who've worked on Prototype and who've worked on Sleeping Dogs. So,
and Need for Speed,
Need for
right?
Speed too, yeah. So EA Vancouver, I don't know if they were ever a primary developer of Need for Speed, but they were one of the one of the either the older developers or like worked in tandem with Ghost or something like that. So yeah, they're gonna be focusing on the Star Wars game now. If you've ever played Prototype or Sleeping Dogs, you'll know that open world sandbox style. It's very similar to like GTA or something like that, where the city is kind of your playground. GTA Infamous, a very very similar feel that you would have to Sleeping Dogs or Prototype. So if you can imagine like a Star Wars setting similar to that and a gameplay style similar to that may be what we have coming from EA Vancouver.
So what do you think this game will be about? I mean, what period do you think it'll be set in? Are we talking known characters, new characters, mix?
Dude, honestly, if you look at the style, like we were just talking about for Sleeping Dogs Prototype, that would lend itself perfectly to an underworld game. Similar to 1313, which was the last game that was teased before Lucasfilm was sold to Disney.
Right, so that would be all like... do you think you'd be Boba, or would you rather be just RPG?
Yeah, I mean, maybe giving you control of an RPG style character, maybe not like fully fucking Skyrim style where you build it from the ground up, but like kind of a nameless bounty hunter, but then you're encountering those people like Boba, Bosk, stuff like that, famous bounty hunters
right.
from within the prequel era community, even going into like maybe being able to run into Han Solo, kind of getting mixed up in the smuggler type of lifestyle as well. I think that a game of this style lends itself very, very well to that. Because it would be kind of hard to me to pull off like a Jedi style, like your main character is a Jedi and like an open world cityscape type of game.
I totally agree. I don't think it can be a Jedi whatsoever.
Yeah, and I mean 1313 garnered a lot of buzz. Like people were, literally you just had like artwork and no in-game footage, no like screenshots from in-engine, nothing. Like you just saw artwork and a basic plot synopsis of that game and people went nuts. They thought it was awesome. So if EA is kind of taking that as a guideline to what people might be interested in, I could definitely see this game focusing on that. So what do you think? Is there anything else that this could be? We're just kind of spitballing here because we don't know exactly what the style is, but anything else that comes to your mind?
No, I think the whole underworld setting sounds ideal, but that's you and I spitballing, as you say, so we probably won't get something like that. I don't think it should be Force-based. I would prefer it to be a scoundrel, a bounty hunter, someone like that, someone that could be, from the unknown and new, but still easy to plug and play with the tried and true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the underworld is such an open, available space, and it even gives you the ability to go off-world. I mean, we all know that the underground is for the prequel era, we're typically talking, Coruscant, 1313 was the floor, like the level within the cityscape itself, where like all of this bounty hunting and smuggling type business went down. But you could also see yourself going off-world, going somewhere in the Outer Rim to pursue a job, or going somewhere to, hunt down a mark if you're playing a bounty hunter. So, there's a lot of cool shit that you can do with that type of character. And, who knows what the reception is going to be after Solo, considering that Solo was primarily focused on, within that realm.
Speaking of Solo, and this, sorry to cut you off, but this just goes back to what we've been talking about with how people have just kind of sold it down the river from day one for one reason or other. So I took my dad to go see it. He lives in a different part of the state than I do, and I guess he was talking to some lady because she had a Star Wars shirt on, and they got to talking about the movie. He's like, "Oh, have you seen Solo yet?" And she's like, "Oh, no, I didn't go see that. I heard it's just garbage." And he's like, "What?" Because my dad, he's old school. He has no idea about the drama behind Solo or Star Wars in general.
It's like, how did you hear it was garbage? Like,
yeah, I've kind of like tried to fill him in on it, but I don't think he understood it until he saw it in action. And today he's like, it was just weird. Like, she literally hated it.
And she didn't even see it.
Didn't see it. And she said, well, that's just what the internet was telling me. And, so it's as we, suspected.
Yeah, it's like, yo, spend $8 on a Saturday, go see the movie, and then
just ignorance.
Form your opinion. I mean, if you have, like, Matt and I were talking off cast, if you have a movie pass, or if you jumped on the AMC movie subscription pass as well, like, you have something that is available to you where you don't have to pay for movies anymore, yo. Like, you can just go.
Yeah.
So
it's basically Netflix for theaters.
Yeah, so just fucking go. I mean, who cares at this point? We already know that this movie is a financial failure. It's not like, you going to see it now is going to boost it.
It's not
past.
even, that's the thing. I mean,
well, in Disney's eyes.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. But if we're just talking nuts and bolts, dollars and cents, they spent this much and they've made this much. They've made enough it's made money. It just has not made Star Wars money.
Yeah. So, I mean, okay. So let's just, to give you an idea of what we're at now.
Sad. Is it even the 400 million?
No. It's not close, and it's not going to get there, in my opinion.
Like, even worldwide, it's not even the 400?
No. So domestic's 205 million. The foreign has pretty much just stopped moving. The foreign is at 151 million. So,
oh my Lord.
I mean, that is it. Like, if we're looking at domestic June 22 to 24, it made $4 million. And then if we look at foreign, I mean, actually, I don't know. It doesn't show me the foreign weekend. It only shows.
And my dad's story proves it. I mean, he's in bumfuck America. And, just a fan, a self-described fan, just said, "Nah, I didn't go see it because I heard it was garbage."
Yeah, it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Just done. They're like, all right, the internet said it was shitty, so fuck it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, that's it. I mean, okay.
I mean, I'll give you that. I'm not trying to discredit, reviews or just being like, all right, if you said one thing, I trust you. Especially in smaller towns around, but it's like...
Yeah, I mean, dude, the foreign total for last weekend was 2.8 million. Like, that's essentially nothing. So...
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not essentially, that is nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're looking... I mean, once it's all said and done, Solo is going to be a sub-$400 million movie, and...
It's the worst Star Wars movie of all time.
Yeah. By far the worst Star Wars movie
in terms of box office. I mean, the worst Star Wars movie of all time is probably Revenge of the Sith. Oh, no, Attack of the Clones. I'm sorry.
The worst box office of all time? Gross. It doesn't... It's so weird when you look at this because they don't, like, adjust it for inflation, but Empire Strikes Back made $209 million domestic. So it's like, that's total. But then...
Yeah, but that's fucking 1980.
Yeah, exactly. 1980, it was playing in 1,200 theaters. I mean, now we're looking at 2018, you have 4,000. Exactly. So...
Yeah.
I mean, the original Star Wars, A New Hope, made $307 million, 750 studios. Empire made $209 million, 1,278 theaters, and then Return of the Jedi made $252 million. This is all domestic totals, and 764 theaters. The lowest grossing new one, you're right, is Attack of the Clones domestic gross, $302 million. So that was the lowest one. I mean, the highest one we all know. The highest three we all know. One is Force Awakens, 2's Last Jedi, 3's Rogue One, and then 4 is actually Phantom Menace with 431 million. So, I mean, it's definitely not good. What can, like, it's hard to kind of put a number on this. Like, it's hard to figure out what Disney's going to do now because we've already heard last week about the rumors of shit being canceled, shit being not canceled. It turns out, so there's a lot of stuff up in the air for sure. But I really do think that Solo is a much better movie than it's given credit for. And
it's way better. I mean, way better. It's sad. I mean, it truly is sad, and we're definitely not getting any more stories out of it. I mean, you and I think we realized it was pie in the sky thinking back when we were talking about it and at the end of May, and now a month later, there's no fucking chance.
Yeah, there's zero chance.
The people have spoken. As dumb as the people may be, they've spoken.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how
it's just ignorance. I mean, ignorance killed that franchise.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because, I mean, if we go back and talk about a rumor that popped up on last week's cast that we were talking about with, Mos Eisley, quote unquote, it's probably a working title, but Mos Eisley, a Star Wars story, was going to be another thing that was set in a similar area, a similar feel of story as Solo. So you're going to be in the underworld, probably working with within the smuggler bounty hunter community on Tatooine, an area that we're intimately familiar with from not only the original trilogy but the prequels as well. I mean, that probably would have primarily focused on continuing this story that picked up from Solo. Possibly moving into Jabba the Hutt cartel, and then maybe even dabbling in some of the Crimson Dawn stuff. You bring Darth Maul in, and since he was introduced at the end of Solo, I mean, there was a lot of cool shit that could have happened there, and we're kind of out of that realm now. But I mean, who knows? What do you think it's possible that Disney says, okay, we can't do this in movies anymore, but we can do it in video games? Do you think that's possible? Like, pick up the story?
Well, how much control do they have over that at this point?
Yeah, I mean, that's where
they've already handed the license over.
Yeah, so I mean,
I don't know how much control they have on the vision of that anymore, but
I mean, if we look
in the end, I still think Disney is foolish from backing down from any plans, period.
Yeah, I mean, because
in the end, they fucked themselves. That's the lesson they need to learn. I can almost say at this point, without hesitation, Solo would have at least hit $500 million if they release it this December.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I mean,
it was just, the more you look at it, that was the stank. That was the move that fucked it. It was nothing to do with, the critics or, idiots not going to see it. I mean, the idiots are idiots, right? I mean, you're always going to have idiots that, are going to believe whatever they hear or read, whether it be factual or not, opinion-based of their own or not, right?
Yeah. I mean,
you still had the whole fucking uneasiness from The Last Jedi and, the small faction that went bonkers over that. And you had Disney even self-admitting, we delayed Solo promotions because we didn't want to oversaturate you people with Star Wars. Because they knew from essentially September of 2017 until December 18th or whatever the day was, they were going to be pumping out fucking The Last Jedi promos left and right.
Yeah.
And they're like, can we really just fire up the Solo campaign right away? So they didn't. They waited till fucking February, Super Bowl. And, and then even then, you still only had 2 or 3 months, and then it's out, and then, oh, by the way, we're also going to release fucking Avengers Infinity War, the 18th ass MCU movie. That's not going to fucking draw a crowd.
Yeah,
and by the way, we don't own it directly yet, but we're soon to. No, yes. Deadpool's Fox, right? Not Sony.
Deadpool is Fox, but they are, I'm pretty sure that's been approved. So
we know the deal's done. I mean, they finally outbid. I think Comcast came in late, offering way more than Disney originally did. And Disney's like, okay, but by the way, we have a lot more money. We own Star Wars, most of Marvel, all the Pixar, eat our dicks,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, they have...
And then they just got the approval from, whatever shitty branch of the government approves that type of shit.
FCC, baby. That's
So,
them.
here we go.
Yeah. So, and I mean, so they're going to get it. Yeah. I mean, you drop Infinity War, which is the fastest movie to ever reach $1 billion worldwide ever, period. And then, like you said...
I mean, that right there, if you just look at the decision, and at one point, you got to remember, Infinity War was going to release in May. And they at least moved it till the end of April.
Yeah, I mean, they pushed it up.
But even then, they still only gave Solo like 1 or 2 weeks of breathing room.
Yeah, it's fucking insane, but I don't know, dude. It's so crazy to think that the 4th highest grossing movie of all time that is run by the same studio released 2 weeks before a Star Wars movie. Like, that is just some hard shit to imagine. But...
you can go back and listen to previous casts back in 17, early 17 even, probably summer 17 even before that. Because when did Howard take it? No, he did. He took over in the summer of 17.
Yeah, he did.
I was calling for it then, like, how do you not delay this movie? It was perplexing, especially because all the Solo drama went down first, and then we learned about the Episode 9 drama, and immediately they're like, oh, fuck this shit. We're pushing this motherfucker back to December.
Yeah, they didn't mess
and I'm
around.
On that one, they're like, fuck it. We know we're not going to hit the May date. Fuck this.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they thought... I mean, obviously they're giving a little bit more reverence to the Skywalker, franchise. So they figured, we need to push Episode 9 back. This is the finality. This is it. This is the ending of this new trilogy. Whether there's going to be more or not, who the fuck knows? But this is the end of 7, 8, 9. Probably not going to see any more of, Rey, Finn, Poe, these characters, Kylo. Probably not going to be any more movies, but they knew that, like, if we want to end this thing on a bang, we need to give it as much time as possible. For Solo, they just honestly, you're right, they just disrespected that film, and like it's really kind of shitty.
They didn't give it a legit shot. It was idiotic planning. I don't get it, because if you look at the slate of movies coming up, there ain't shit releasing in December.
Oh no, yeah, there's nothing.
There ain't dick. I mean, compared to the last 3 years when Star Wars has dominated that season at this point, there's fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, the closest thing you could say is Fantastic Beasts, and I think that's still November.
That's still November. Yeah, that's like 11/11, right? Or 11 something.
Yeah, I mean, there is zero major film coming out in December, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, maybe something hasn't been announced yet, but really, any major releases would probably be at least known to be in production. So it was weird, dude. But I mean, if we look at in terms of video games again, because we kind of tangented off into our Solo shit, but like in terms of video games and EA kind of working with Disney to further storylines, I mean, Battlefront 2. That campaign was excellent. Like, it filled in a lot of important story gaps, gave great context to both the fall of the Empire and also, not really the rise of the First Order, but it gave context into how they were building their army so fast. And it also gave you information around, Inferno Squad, and then, Operation Inferno, where they were trying to go through and destroy all of these bunkers that the Emperor had set up, Emperor Palpatine. And then in the Resurrection story, learning how the First Order built their army to the size that they were by kidnapping children from planets and brainwashing them. Like, it was a fantastic story that linked in well with, the end of Episode 6 and the beginning of Episode 7. So I really do think that it might not be an official partnership, but I think that EA and Disney are working together in some ways to give context to these movies to really help to bridge these story gaps. So I think it's possible that maybe it won't directly pick up with the same characters of Kira and Maul and Han and Chewie and stuff like that, but there could be a possibility that this storyline, this underworld type of story, can be picked up in video games. And I think that would be a fantastic way to do it.
I mean, honestly, that's an intelligent call by my co-host here. I wasn't even thinking that way, but it would be, at least to me, satisfactory.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than getting nothing.
Not what I want, because I was a fan of Solo and what they were setting up, and the characters, the actors. I would have saw two more movies. But if we're not going to get that, I would totally explore that in that style of video game. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, the setting itself is easy enough to recreate. I mean, just in video game history, there's a ton of games that are built similar to how you would an underworld style of Coruscant, or an Outer Rim, style of game. If you're going for like Tatooine and stuff like that, I mean, anything is achievable. Anything that you can do in a movie, you can achieve in a video game. And the only difference now is that video games give you the chance to truly immerse yourself in them by taking control of the characters. You can
become part of the story.
Yeah.
I mean, you become the story, where in a movie you're always passive.
Yeah, I mean, even with, games like Battlefront 2, where you're playing an established character, it's not one that you build yourself, but you still feel like you're in, like when you were playing the Battlefront 2 campaign, you felt Iden, you felt her pain when she ripped herself away from the Empire, and then you felt her pain when she was, towards the end of the game. I mean, spoiler alerts for this game. If you haven't played it yet, if you haven't and you're listening to this podcast, go get it. It's like $15 now. It's cheap as fuck, and the story's really good. But, going there and then trying to save your father at the Battle of Jakku, when you know that the Empire is lost, trying to pull him out, and then him telling you to go, watching your father essentially die for a lost cause, and then, coming back as an older Iden in Project Resurrection. And I mean, the whole thing, even though you're not playing a character that
Have you gone back and played the campaign since it's been updated?
Yeah. I mean, I
haven't. I feel like a shithead, because I bet it's decent.
I mean, it's really good. Have you played Project Resurrection?
No, I mean, I've only played through the proper game.
Yeah, so
that's what I mean.
So, because I just finished Resurrection yesterday.
Okay, so it's not like you fucking beat me to
No.
it,
No, I mean, I went through, and I hadn't played it in a while, so
my point is, it's been out for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, that content's been there, but I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, Project Resurrection's only 3 chapters, so if you've played the original story through, it's of similar length, and it's only 3 chapters, but it does kind of give you a little bit of context into the Resistance. And I mean, there's a lot of good shit in there, and a lot of interesting stuff as to involving Kylo, and involving the battle at Starkiller Base and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of great shit in it, and that just goes to show that EA is actively working within the same story space as Disney, and is providing these ancillary tales to really give context into what's happening in this world.
Well, they're trying to.
They're trying to, yeah, for sure.
They're just fucking taking a really long time and probably not doing as much as they could be doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're searching Star Wars games out, I mean, there's.
But at this point, I mean, honestly, there's more hope than we've had in the past 5 years, right? Because we know for sure we're getting in a Respawn Star Wars.
Yeah, that is confirmed.
That is going to be Jedi based.
Yeah, prequel.
And now we're getting some sort of open world, probably third person action RPG Star Wars.
Yeah. So I mean, those are two.
And that's what we've been lacking since The Force Unleashed 2.
Yeah, really. I mean, The Force Unleashed 2 was the last one, and honestly, can't even hold a candle to Force Unleashed 1.
Oh, yeah, 2 was horrendous. I mean, 1, to me, is one of the best Star Wars video games of all time. I mean, it's ruined now because its story has been aborted,
Shot
but
in the head.
back then, I mean, its story was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you got...
On top of the gameplay, I mean, it was a fucking awesome game.
Yeah, I mean, you get to see essentially, not really the creation of the rebellion, but like, bringing it into the prominence that we see in the movies, and just showing that level of discontent between Vader and Palpatine. Vader essentially trying to raise this apprentice up to help him take down the Emperor. It was a fantastic story, and so many cool things came from it. Galen Marek as a character was awesome. Meeting his blind Jedi master Ram Koda on that trash planet. We've referenced this a few times, that there's the scene in the game where you literally like pull a fucking Star Destroyer down from space. Fantastic. So what EA needs to realize is that Star Wars video games have always been an avenue to tell another story. And with the first Battlefront, they didn't realize that, because they did not have a campaign. It was just all online bullshit. And if I was, a competitive online gamer still, I would play it hardcore. But it seemed like they kind of realized what the fans, what the older fans want with Battlefront 2 by inserting the story into that. So I'm hoping now that they've, they kind of took the blinders off, and both of these games are going to bring good story content. But other than that, if you're looking for a game, go play Galaxy of Heroes. The CLS Commander Luke Skywalker event is live.
EA has definitely fumbled the license, but the motherfuckers probably have created one of the greatest free-to-play mobile games of all time, which formula was lifted from other similar games, and now games have lifted its own formula. But Galaxy of Heroes is fucking aces. I can't say anything else. It's a game I've played for 3 years now. I think going on 4, maybe going on 3. I can't remember. I played it since day one, and I play it every day for, I'd say, if you want to add up all the time, probably 2 hours a day.
Yeah, dude, I play same amount, probably. Just like hopping in free moments during work to get in a few sims and, get some gear, level up some characters. Matt's been rocking Commander Luke Skywalker since probably before I even started playing the fucking game, but I am there. He was sitting online waiting for me.
He was doing some RNG rolls
just to see if I could get lucky
for 30 minutes before we went live to see if he could get lucky.
Yeah, and I'm right there. I know what I need to push myself over the edge to unlock him, but it's gonna require a few more pieces, a few more materials. So, but yeah, guys, we tangented off, talked about Solo again, lamenting what we thought was a fantastic movie, and then
it's just sad. It depresses me at this point.
Yeah, it's shitty.
I'll be the first one to admit, I was one of those people who's like, Solo, all nah. But you know what? I still went to fucking see it.
Yeah, dude.
Because as much as I wanted to judge it without seeing it, I still knew that the only way to truly figure out what this movie was going to be about or was to go see it. And I went and saw it, and I was like, you know what? It's great. I saw it 2 more fucking times.
Yeah, it's worth multiple viewings.
I have way more appreciation for the character of Han Solo at this point in time than I ever did. I've always appreciated Chewie. That's easy. He's easy. He's fucking Chewbacca. If you don't like Chewbacca, you're a communist.
Yeah. Here's the thing. In the original trilogy, Han was a fully formed character already. We see Leia and Luke in that movie, and
Han was Han. Han was always going to be Han.
He
changed a bit, but not much.
Yeah, Luke was a nascent character, and he formed in front of our eyes from this farm boy on Tatooine into the greatest Jedi Master who ever lived. And then with Leia, you see her transform from a closet rebellion leader to a fully fledged battlefield general who is running operations not only on Hoth but also on Endor. You get to see these characters develop. With Han, you got, like you said, Matt, you saw him as as a smuggler scoundrel, and then you saw him as a similar smuggler scoundrel, but who was just more, into Leia. Like, it was just the same character, except he fell in love with Leia and then thus, fell into the rebellion. So there wasn't a lot of character development with him. And this movie kind of gives you all of that shit that you were looking for that you had with Luke and Leia in the original trilogy. So for people who are saying it's a waste of time, there's nothing in it. Fucking take off your the shit off your eyes and just watch it and pay attention. There's a lot of good stuff in it.
Yeah, it's a legit movie. So, moving on from the video game universe, we got a rumor.
A little bit of a rumor, yeah. And
we got some stuff on Ryan's movies. What do you want to move on to next?
I think, hitting on this rumor is pretty interesting. I think this is pretty cool, and it also kind of gives us like we said, rumor, it could possibly give us some insight into JJ's mindset. So the rumor is that Ewan McGregor is going to be returning to Star Wars as Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 9. So, for all of you people out there who are like, well, what the fuck is this? Like, he wasn't in Episode 8, he wasn't in Episode 7, but he was in Episode 7, very tiny bit. If you remember Rey's Force Vision, one of the most prominent voices in it was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that voice was a mixture of both Alec Guinness and of Ewan McGregor. So we know from that JJ had some kind of link, something he wanted to do probably with Obi-Wan Kenobi in relation to the Rey character.
Yeah, come on. That's got to be clear, right?
Yeah, who knows? Obviously, as a casual fan watching the movie, maybe you didn't know it was Obi saying stuff in the fucking vision, but I remember us two going nuts over it. Like, we would, when that first came out in trailers, we would like pause it and slow it down.
These are your first steps.
Yeah, like
he essentially gives her first legitimate piece of information.
Yeah. So, not only insight into the future, insight into the past. So what this rumor could mean is that, and this is something that Matt and I talked about a little bit, and, who knows what is really kind of the genesis for this inclusion, but what it could mean is that JJ is going back to his story that he set out with in Episode 7, even though Obi-Wan wasn't used as a character in Episode 8. So he may be trying to pick up the pieces of his story and continue it in Episode 9.
And I honestly, if he goes that route, I don't think it's a big deal that Obi-Wan wasn't present in 8, because I think it would have been odd, because we had Luke, right?
Yeah.
Luke is still Luke. He is the new Obi-Wan, so we didn't need Obi-Wan, and that's why it made sense that Yoda showed up, because Yoda was still elevated higher than Luke ever reached, technically.
Yeah, and Yoda was really his primary Jedi master.
Well, of course.
Obi was the one who introduced him to the Force, from the first movie.
Come on. He gave him his dad's lightsaber and let him stick it right into his eye.
Yeah, like
look at that. Rewatch the scene, people. If you ever watch it, Luke literally takes the lightsaber and stares at it like the Porgs do in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it's
he looks right into the barrel. It's no different than taking like a shotgun and sticking it right in your fucking eye.
Yeah, he clearly did not take a lightsaber safety course before he started handling that weapon.
Obi-Wan was just a cavalier motherfucker, man.
He was like, yeah, check it out. Just don't push that button if it's pointed.
He's always been a fucking cool cat like that.
So yeah, it makes more sense. You're right. It makes 100%, more sense to have Yoda show up as the voice of reason to Luke, because he was the trainer. Like, he took him through his, what could be considered his full Jedi training, introduced him, sent him through the Force Cave on Dagobah, where he, encountered, what was essentially like his own inner demons, and then, didn't really mentor him through a lot of his hardships, but was there to kind of pick up the pieces when Luke goes back to Dagobah in episode 6 and says, like, you know, hey, things didn't exactly work out the way that I was expecting, but, you know, I'm here to finish my training. And of course Yoda's like, well, son, you fucking jumped out, so I'm gonna die.
It's like, yeah, you're a fucking dumbass.
Yeah.
And again, as much as people don't want to believe it, that was kind of the genesis for the way Ryan treated him. I mean, he's like, Luke was always the one to just fucking head out, and he eventually learned, if I just run into shit headstrong without thinking and just going off my emotions, it always ends in bad.
Yeah.
And that's why he fucking locked himself away on Acto.
Yeah, he moved from one extreme to the other. Like, he never found that middle ground.
He finally realized, like, every time I just rush out and do something, it fucks people up. And usually people I care about.
Yeah. So in terms of Obi in episode 9, like, there's a lot of rumors, obviously, around who he could be. Like, who he could be to Rey, particularly, because now we know, like you just said, you know, he wasn't really used as a tool for Luke to kind of come out of his funk. So what could the connection be between Rey and Obi like, you know, makes this a permanent
I'm going to throw out, like, a dream scenario. We literally have fucking Ewan, Hamill, and maybe even Yoda game planning in Force Ghost Land.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, that could be some pretty sick shit, honestly, because...
Again, like I said, like, that's fucking far out, never gonna happen,
well, if
but
you
that would be
it, like,
badass.
I mean, if
that'd be badass.
I mean, it would be. I mean, that's kind of like the big 3 that you would want. If you want 3 Jedi Masters to be giving you advice...
I mean, if you want to make amends with the nuts, I think that's a good place to start, because that's like... bleh, like barfing Star Wars into your mouth,
yeah,
type of shit. Like,
and I mean,
oh, you want your Star Wars, blah, and you're just fucking vomiting Obi-Wan, Luke, and Yoda.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it too, I mean, there was always a slight mirroring of you know this new trilogy to the old, even in, you know, more for episode 8, more in tone than in actual story progression. But if you look at the character of Rey being, in, you know, a mirror to Luke, for Luke, he had somebody there for him through every movie. He had somebody there through 4, 5, and 6. For Rey, she didn't have anybody there for 7, other than Obi a little bit in that vision. I mean, not really a guide, but more of an introduction.
Let's get real. Rey is stronger than Luke.
Yeah, I mean, I think
about it. With zero training, she was able to beat someone that had been training in the Force for most of his life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she has
zero training.
Just he was compromised, obviously, being shot by that, you know, thing, by the bowcaster, but
again,
still
zero training.
Yeah,
she beats down Luke, beats him down physically, beats him down.
Yeah. So
still zero training. I mean, she got zero training from him.
Yeah, no. I mean, basically, her lightsaber training
words,
was like
right?
her swinging the lightsaber by herself by that rock. That was about it. I mean,
right. I mean, so still zero training. Zero training. She helps to take down fucking. Well, I mean, she didn't do much, but she played a role. She did kick the rest of the Praetorian Guard's ass. But again, zero training. Zero.
Dude, the funny thing is, like, that's what pisses off a lot of people. Like, that fact that it's...
Well, yeah, they think she's OP.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what? She's never touched a lightsaber before in her life, and she's, you know, figured out how to fight one of the strongest Sith ever.
But if you understand storytelling, they establish in The Force Awakens that she is a skilled melee combat fighter.
I mean, you have the bow staff that she carried with her on Jakku. I mean, and you saw her use it to kick the shit out of 3 dudes that were on her. I mean, so like you said, yes. I mean, a lightsaber is a different beast. It's a different type of weapon, but
I mean, it's still a melee weapon. And like I said, they established that this character has physical skills with combat.
Yeah, it's not like she was, you know, a cripple or something like that picking up this lightsaber. Like, she was a young character, strong in the Force, and then, like you said, also has combat background. So it's not like, I mean, if somebody who is proficient with using a staff picks up a sword, I'm pretty sure they're not going to cut their own head off with it. Like, that's the comparison. Like, come on. I mean, I know that we're, Star Wars is a huge thing to a lot of us here, and, everybody listening especially, but, like, they got some shit that, I mean, it's a fantasy world. Of course this girl's going to be able to pick up a lightsaber and at least swing it, possibly. Like, come on.
It's not real, motherfuckers. It's not real.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of Obi coming back in, I mean, one, it's definitely got to be Force Ghost form. If we're talking about Ewan McGregor coming back in and actually playing a physical role, it's got to be Force Ghost form. I don't think that there's any possible way they could even incorporate a flashback. Like, there is nobody here that would instigate a flashback unless it's, I mean...
Unless they try to, again, he could technically still rewrite Rey's parentage if he wants.
He could. I mean, like like Ryan said, there was nothing that was in there that stone cemented Rey's parentage.
And it's all believable, too, because he's like, yo, Kylo's Kylo. I mean, he was trying to manipulate her till the end.
Yeah, and I mean, we already know that she, like... Yeah, Kylo can read minds, but we already know that she has blocked Kylo. Like, in the first movie, he goes to try to read her, and then she snaps him out. Like, hey, the fuck are you doing?
It's not even reading her mind. Again, they're both Force sensitive, so they can see a future, but it's a future.
Yeah, it's not, again...
Just like Yoda always tried to tell Luke, like, yo, yes, you might have seen them in danger, but that's just one possibility. Yoda made the point... You going is probably what's going to cause that future.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that trigger specific events to happen. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, Kylo's just trying to fuck with her, try to hurt her, try to get her in a mental state that would degrade her. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe, maybe she finds the green lightsaber. I doubt that that's going to happen because I think that thing has been forgotten about, which kind of, it does annoy me. Because I wanted to see it come back, and we only saw it for a bit in Episode 8. But, maybe she's, touches an artifact of Luke's or, a Jedi relic and then gets, like, another vision or something like that. It's like a similar kind of short shockwave.
Well, yeah, so that goes back to the whole Maz's castle. At this point, do you still feel like we're owed an explanation for Maz having the saber, or does it not even matter after TLJ essentially fucking
cracked it,
blew a bunch of stuff out of the fucking galaxy?
Well, I mean, destroyed it. I mean, like, completely destroyed that lightsaber, which, look, I mean, I've warmed up to TLJ, of course. I still have some issues with it, but, like, one of the things, I'm like, did you have to break the saber? I know it was a symbolic thing.
I'm not even saying the breaking of it ruins it. I'm just saying narratively, does it even matter at this point?
No, I don't think it does, but...
Because I actually think breaking it made sense.
Yeah,
because you had these, obviously one of the DNA and then the other of a very powerful Force affinity.
Yeah.
Fighting over it, they could totally rip it in half.
Yeah.
And there was a ton of symbolism in
exactly.
that too.
Like, there was a lot of symbolism that was there that, was in line with Ryan's vision for the movie and, like, where he wanted to take the storyline for it. But as just like a ravenous Star Wars fan who wants all the information that he can get, of course I want to know how Maz got it. I mean, fuck yeah. Like, give it to me. I mean, maybe it won't fit well in the movie now because of how things have progressed, but you give it to me in a comic book, give it to me in a video game, give it to me in a cartoon series, something. Like, I want to know how that got there because, I mean, that is a pretty fucking big thing. Like, that lightsaber was lost in the depths of Cloud City, so... How the hell did it get there? How did Maz come to have it? Like, I think that would be a really interesting story to tell. Again, like, Area 4...
No, I'm with you. I mean, I'm a lore hound too, so I would love to hear it, but at this point, I'd understand if we never hear it.
Oh, yeah. I 100% agree. I mean, I think at this point, I even think if they do address it, they would have to give really good context into why they're addressing it, because like you said... The saber is destroyed. I mean, Rey's holding the pieces and is probably only treating it as a piece of memorabilia at this point. So if it were to come up like the origin of Maz getting it, you would have to really swing that out of left field.
There's no reason to even talk about at this point.
Yeah, so
unless she's going to do something with its crystal, because if you think about it, she does not have a lightsaber anymore.
No, she has no lightsaber, and
Kylo still does.
Yeah, and the only way.
So there we go. That's how it would come into play.
I mean, the crystal I don't think was broken. I mean, I don't even think you can break. I mean, you probably can break.
She has both halves either way.
Yeah. So
right.
If she had both of them. So if she wanted to mend the saber, she could. But I also imagine that, taking the crystal and kind of using that as the starting point for your own saber would be a cool thing to do as well. I mean, even if they do make it, if they do make it to where she creates her own saber, they could even make it to where it looks similar in a way to that one.
Dude, I'm telling you right here, it has nothing to do with Mace Windu. It's more for Jaina. I want her to have a purple ass fucking lightsaber.
Yeah, dude, because Jaina's saber was dope. I mean, if you've ever seen artwork of Jaina Solo from,
I have her. They Hasbro released a Black Series figure of her, I think this year or late 2017, and it's fantastic. She's in an all black Rebel pilot suit with her, fucking uncle style black helmet, and she's got the purple saber, and it's a beautiful figure. And I see Rey in her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's got to have a purple saber that she crafts.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that was when this trilogy first came out, that was my initial kind of feel for it, was that she was going to play the role of Jaina Solo, and then Kylo was going to play the role of Jason Solo. And in a way, it is similar. It wasn't exactly the story, because in that story, it was a much more fully fleshed out galaxy. And then, the New Republic was fully formed, and there was a full Jedi Council. Luke had already, put together a Jedi Academy, had raised Jedi from Padawan to Knight to Master, and put together another council. So but just the essence of those two characters is what I was looking for, and I think that still kind of holds true with these two. So yeah, I think it was pretty awesome. They did a pretty good job with the creation of Rey, and then even.
Do you think if she makes it purple, she'll put gold trim on it like Mace,
dude,
pimp style?
I would. I'd put some dangly bits off that bitch too.
I have a Mace Windu Master replica or whatever they are.
Yeah, the Master Effects.
And he does. I mean, he totally pimped it out.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's got
a gold switch, gold around the blade emitter, gold on the grip.
Dude, and if you look at, it's funny too. If you look at the Sidious blade from Episode 3, I mean, that's got a lot of gold on it too. So
I could see that. I mean, what's Palpatine's first name?
Sheev.
Yeah, it's creepy. Isn't
it is very weird. When they announced that, I was like, really? His name is Sheev? First name is Sheev?
Yeah, I kind of dig it, though. I mean, he is a creepy motherfucker.
Yeah, it's just skeezy sounding name. The dude is definitely...
It's totally skeezy.
He's a shifty dude, which makes sense. But... So, yeah, I mean, that's the rumor out there. If you guys have any ideas, any other kind of, brainstorming, if anything that you would want to see Obi-Wan do, or kind of a role you would like to see him fill in Episode 9, let us know. And Twitter, YouTube comments, Facebook, anything like that, because we'd like to hear some of your opinions. But yeah, I mean, pretty interesting shit. So we got one more thing to talk about for this cast, and it is around everybody's favorite Star Wars director, right? Rian Johnson.
Poor motherfucker.
I mean,
I do feel bad for him at this point.
Oh yeah, dude, I feel bad for Ryan. I mean, it's tough to he poured his heart and soul into that movie. You can say whatever you want about it. You can, you may love it, you may hate it, you may feel in the middle about it, but this man took his opportunity, what could have been his only opportunity ever to direct a Star Wars movie, and he made the movie that he wanted to make, and he put his heart and soul in it. And that's more than anything, I think that's what got him the new trilogy, not the fact that it made $1 billion I mean, that probably helped.
Well, no, yeah. Well, I mean, didn't they announce it before the movie even came out?
Oh yeah,
though?
they announced it before the movie came out. So like,
I totally think it was just how he and Rom worked with Lucasfilm.
yeah, exactly. Like they were consummate professionals. Like they were the ideal team that like Lucasfilm would want to like craft a Star Wars directing,
like,
producing
it
duo.
sounds like it was their dream setup.
Yeah, and I mean,
if they couldn't get JJ to do everything, because I think, do you think they offered him to do the trilogy? Do we know this at this point? Because we do know that he wrote an initial draft at least for 3 films.
I heard, now I don't know if we talked about this or not, but I did hear that he was offered all of them, and he said no.
Okay, and I kind of tend to agree with you. I've heard something similar. And at the time, I think he was just like, "Yo, I'm tired of being the sequel motherfucker," and I get that. Again, you gotta remember, these people are artists. I mean, yeah, they make a lot of money, and he probably makes way more money doing Star Wars than anything else he does.
Yeah, 100%.
But he's still an artist, and sometimes they just want to do what they feel they need to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, talking about Rian Johnson, we are going to speak a little bit about his new trilogy. And this comes off of an article, really a quote from his producer, Ron Bergman. So, in this article, it goes over, and it is confirmed at this point, he has signed on to be the producer of Rian's new trilogy. And with this, announcement, I mean, I guess like a lot of people just assumed that he was going to do it anyway. Like they're kind of a duo. But, with this announcement comes so a timeline, maybe a rough timeline on when we can see these movies. So here's what Rom says. So somebody asked him, like, when are we going to finally get to see or hear about this trilogy? When are we going to get some meat on it? And he says, I can't tell you because we don't know yet. Maybe in 2 years. It's just in the early stages. So that's kind of, what we're talking about here is like this 2-year timeline on, when we might finally get to see the vision for Rian's new trilogy. So if we think about 2 years, that puts us at the 2020 date that Bob Iger initially put on.
Did you interpret that as 2 years before they even begin shooting, or 2 years before we see a movie?
See, it says...
I took it as before even maybe shooting.
I don't know if it's shooting. I think it, in my opinion, since the question says asked when we might see all of this new stuff, I might be taking C too literally, but I was thinking that like the 2-year mark might be like, when we start to see like trailers, maybe when we get story details, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my thought on it. But so what do you think about that timeline though? Because that puts it, if that's when they're planning it, say it is a release timeline, that puts the first movie of this trilogy releasing in 2020, which is 1 year after the finale, the ending of the Skywalker saga.
I do believe, and I think Iger's on record as saying they're at least going to have movies coming out through 2020.
Yeah. So he's already been on record.
But if you want to buy into like the shit we talked on the last cast, which is essentially Star Wars canceled, not canceled, and delusional Star Wars fans are delusional, because we have creative titles like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows what the fuck has happened at this point in terms of their initial schedule and their roadmap.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they accelerated the timeline for Rian's trilogy because 2020 was supposed to be like one of their more obscure projects that they've decided to kind of put on the back burner for a little while. But it is interesting that if that timeline is right, and if Rian's trilogy releases on 2020, in 2020 that is, do you think that could be the new version of like the Skywalker saga, the Skywalker set of films? Because
the way everything's been phrased, where the word "new" is thrown around left and right, like they're like new grenades in every sentence.
Yeah, I mean, this is so.
It's
This
like
was
new. This all new. I mean, they're really hammering home, like, listen, motherfuckers, you're not gonna get anything you recognize. I mean, at least in terms of characters.
Yeah. So
And I'm fine with that. And we've talked about this before, where we encourage the new, but we always make a disclaimer: if you're gonna go full new, you still need to at least casually mention the meat and potatoes.
yeah, exactly.
Which is the Skywalker universe.
You know, it doesn't even have to be somebody saying Luke Skywalker's name. I mean,
No,
it could be like
it could be mentioning the rebellion or Leia's rebellion or yada yada yada,
Yeah.
or that famous Jedi.
I mean,
shit like that.
A statue, anything that kind of, harkens back. The only thing I've ever asked from new content is that it's still distinctly Star Wars. Like, if you're going to make a new trilogy and you're going to focus on brand new characters and you're going to focus on a brand new setting, that's fine. But, like, the movie has to feel like Star Wars. I mean, I would assume that if you're going to make another movie, another set of movies completely disconnected in every way from the Skywalker saga and from everything that's related to the Skywalker saga, you still have to use the Force. Like, that is a quintessential part of Star Wars.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. His whole, to some people, deconstruction of the Force in the TLJ is doing exactly that. It's giving him the leeway to say, hey, any motherfucker, a kid living in a fucking faultier shit box, can have the Force.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
so I'm with you 100%. I mean, I don't think this is just a fucking another Solo movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you could build a new trilogy and not have those
you
key
have
factors.
You have to include Force sensitives.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, who knows? I mean, lightsabers to me are like, I mean, not only are they a fantastic source of revenue for Disney because they mass produce and sell these motherfuckers, but like, that is another thing that is distinctly Star Wars. And I know that, like, when you're talking about weaponry and you move from location to location, styles of weaponry change. But, like, I feel like the lightsaber's gotta be there. I mean, at least in some form. Maybe you could tweak it a little bit, looks a little different, but, like,
I mean, they even crammed one in the Solo.
yeah, I mean, shit. Literally, like, one of the last scenes in the film, you see a lightsaber fucking light up. I mean, it's on a hologram, but still, like, it's there. I mean, we've had lightsabers in literally every Star Wars movie ever made, period. Like, so to think that we would have a brand new trilogy, even if it is completely disconnected, that doesn't include lightsabers, it would be kind of fucking weird. So those are the only two things I'm asking for. Like,
it's got to be in there, and I'd be fine even if the Force sensitives aren't like the star. I mean, I'd be fine if like a Han Solo or a Poe or a Finn was the lead, and the actual Force sensitive lightsaber guy or girl was secondary.
yeah, I mean,
that would be different, but it would still be kind of tickling that itch that Nick's talking about for, what most Star Wars fans probably want in the movie.
yeah, I mean, it's just, I want to be able to, like, so this is what you should be able to do in a Star Wars movie. In a real Star Wars movie, you should be able to mute it. Watch what's happening on the screen, and then eventually see something that's like, that's a Star Wars movie. That something that keys you in that what you're seeing is a Star Wars movie. I mean, for the ones that we've seen now, it's mainly characters. For Rogue One, though, like, you're watching that film, you don't recognize a lot of people in it, but then you start to see the ships. You're like, okay, I see a Star Destroyer, I see an X-Wing, I see a TIE Fighter. Like, you point to these things and say, that's Star Wars, and then eventually you get the recognizable face with Vader, the lightsaber, and stuff like that. But even in a new trilogy, you should be able to watch it and say, like, that dude just lifted something up without touching it. He used the Force. Or, like, that dude just lit up a lightsaber. Like, this is a Star Wars movie.
No, I agree. I mean, you got to keep the brand, like at least the bullet points of the brand in there somehow.
Yeah.
And like I said, they even fitted in at Solo, even if it came in at the last second.
Yeah, I mean, they
still managed to be like, oh yeah, by the way, this is still Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, for all of
even though you saw some stormtroopers and this, that, and the other thing, to establish it in the Star Wars universe, we got a little bit of everything in there for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not only did you get, you know, a heavy dose of the Empire, you also got a little bit of lightsaber, you got some ship battles, a lot of good stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, 2 years out for this trilogy, I mean, it doesn't help the fact that we have like a year and a half layoff until fucking episode 9 comes out. But I mean, I'm hoping that this fallow period that we're getting now is when we're really going to see Resistance, the cartoon series, like kick in the high gear and really be, you know, stellar.
Well, we're supposed to get it this fall, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I
mean, it's already coming out, so it's not that far away. And like I said, I mean, Principal should be starting on 9 by the end of July.
Yeah, yeah.
And whenever that starts, you're gonna be getting legitimate leaks, stronger rumors, stuff that we can really riff on. I mean, you and I, we can riff on anything in the end. I mean, we're still going well over an hour even on this nonsense this week.
Yeah, I mean, we essentially had a nothing video game reveal and a grain of salt rumor and one line from Ron Bergman, and here we are.
Yeah,
you know?
That's how we roll, and that's why you should be listening to us, because that's just what we do on Star Wars time. So don't worry, the good stuff will be coming, but it's all good stuff, my friends, because we're talking Star Wars. And unless you're one of these delusionals, Star Wars is good. Star Wars is great. Star Wars is fun, except when we talk about what the prequels did to some characters that are pretty major, like my man Darth Vader.
Yeah, so, Star Wars is life. Star Wars is breath. But, you know, if you're one of the people who went out and watched Jurassic World 2 and is like, oh my God, it was such a good movie, and you didn't see Solo, you need to just, like, slam your head in a door or something. Like,
see ya.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
You're literally ridiculous. I mean, you're ridiculous.
Like, that movie, Jurassic World 2, was trash. Go fucking spend $8, see Solo. Who knows? Maybe we'll get it up to $375 million just off of us alone.
That's so sad, dude.
That's so sad. All right.
It really is. I mean,
if you think about it, like $350 million or something like that. I think I messaged you like the opening weekend box office for Jurassic World 2, and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like,
yeah, I mean, it hit 500, right?
Yeah, like it hit. I think it hit 7. Like it hit $700 million
it was
worldwide.
Disturbingly high.
Yeah, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I came out of that movie and I went with my girlfriend, and she really enjoyed it. Like, you know, I mean, she's only seen the first Jurassic Park, and she saw Jurassic World, so she didn't see the other two, which, I mean, not really necessary, but, like, I mean, she had fun with it, she enjoyed it, but, like, I watched it and I was like, damn, son, this was, like, the worst Jurassic Park movie I've ever seen in my life, and that movie makes $700 million opening
All I
weekend.
can compare to is Jurassic 2, because it hits some of the absurdity that was the little girl doing a high bar routine to beat up raptors.
Yeah, that was pretty
Like, I don't know if people remember that, but I mean, that's where Jurassic Park 2 ended up.
I mean, Jurassic Park 2 did have some pretty dope scenes with the T-Rexes, though, like the 2 T-Rexes and stuff.
Well, and I kind of mentioned this in my review. I mean, where the shittier Jurassic Parks have gone wrong is when they take the focus off of the park and the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
It's all about having the dinosaurs in their location to fuck with humans, not bringing them out into society and, you know, doing the dumb shit they've done in 2 and now this one.
Yeah, so, I mean, even Jurassic Park 3, for as many people hated that movie because it wasn't featuring a T-Rex, it was focusing on the Spinosaurus. I mean, it still had, like you said, you know, you're on an island, and it's a survival movie. Like,
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's kind of like meat and potatoes fucking Jurassic Park for you right there. So, that tangented off, but to wrap this shit up, you know, we got some video games that are in development. We got possibly some.
It's positive.
Yeah, it's
positive.
100%. I mean, if you haven't played Battlefront 2 campaign, go do it. Matt, go play Resurrection. It's worth it.
Will do.
And then we possibly have some Obi in Episode 9. Who knows? And then we possibly have Ryan's trilogy kicking off in 2020. So there we go.
All right, my friends. All we can do is tune into the Force and hope to get some new information for next week. But if we don't, maybe we'll cook up an interesting topic set in that galaxy that is so far, far away that we all love. In between now and then, though, may the Force be with you always.